pressure. Under pressure. Pressure.
Welcome to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We got some new Q posts for you, and I'm going to read through these here. Today, I am on the qanon.pub board, and the reason being is because my QMappy map took a Q crappy crap. We've got no pictures being displayed on this board today, and everybody knows that pictures make the story better. That's probably a fact. All right, keep in mind, I always read through these one time, and then I go to my analysis. So if you want to skip to that, just click on the timestamp below, and you will be shuttled by Uber to the analysis. Post 1651 coming in at 45 minutes after the hour of 9. We have two flags that don't look anything like each other. Post 1652, 48 minutes after the hour of 9. ICE executes its mission through the enforcement of more than 400 federal statutes and focuses on smart immigration enforcement, preventing terrorism and combating the illegal movement of people and trade. Then we have a link, abolish ICE, hashtag goodbye Democrats, Q. Post 1653, 55 minutes after the hour of 9. We get this article here. Senator Tim Scott plans to recommend Trey Gowdy for Supreme Court. Q says, what a coincidence. Post 1654, 57 minutes after the hour of 9. We have this link to the Washington Times. NSA deleted 685 million call records. Q, did that include HRC, McCabe, Strzok, Page, Rosenstein calls? Drain the NSA. And Q responds, you delete what you no longer need. You save what you do need. Post 1655, 59 minutes after the hour of 9, responding to an Anon. But you just said it will not be Gowdy. And Q says, being on the list does not equate to receiving the nomination. Post 1656, 3 minutes after the hour of 10. Being on the list does not equate to receiving the nomination. And adding on to that, Q says, make no mistake, Rep. Gowdy is a patriot. Q. Post 1657. Do you feel the emotion, anger this writer has? Then we have a link. Doxing the billboard owners. Another link. They are scared of you. Nothing is more powerful than the public being awake and collectively free thinking, talking, etc. Stay united. Q. Post 1658, 4 minutes after the hour of 1 p.m., we get this graphic here of sealed indictments. Good tracking. Ask yourself, is this normal? This is bigger than people can possibly imagine. Nothing being done. Q. Adding on to that, 11 minutes after the hour of 1 p.m., Q says, ask yourself, who is filing the indictments? It would take a very large team to work this quickly. Who has that kind of manpower? 470. And then we have a Breitbart link. Q. Post 1660, 29 minutes after the hour of 1 p.m. Ask yourself, does Huber have the ability to file across all 50 states? Is any of this normal? Think sealed indictments. Think resignations of CEOs. Think resignations of senators. Think resignations of Congress. Think termination of senior FBI. Think termination of senior DOJ. Media blackout. Midterms punt. All or nothing. Race. Would a second SC special counsel take years to complete? Would a second special counsel be based in corrupt DC? Would the grand jury be members of the DC community? What percentage of DC voted for HRC? How large is Mueller's team? 20 to 25? Think 470. The more you know. Q. Post 1661. 35 minutes after the hour of 1 p.m. responding to an Anon who says, looking at the numbers, it doesn't seem to be slowing down or wrapping up either. Q says, think stages. What role can military intel play? What role can NSA play? Bang. Q. Post 1662, 23 minutes, after the hour of 2 p.m., we get a Washington Times link, Q. Post 1663, thank you, USSS. Then we have a blaze.com link, Q. 1664, 13 minutes after the hour of 8 p.m., there will be no civil war. Coordinated MSM hysteria designed to instill fear, change narrative. North Korea is not advancing their weapons program. Coordinated MSM hysteria designed to instill fear, change narrative. Fake news. Q. And post 1665, we have this American version of what seems to be an MC Escher painting. It's by Ben Garrison. Q says, thank you, Ben. We rather enjoyed this one. Where we go one, we go all. Q. All right, let's take you back to the beginning. How was your Uber? No, you don't have to tip. It's not a real Uber. Post 1651, we have these two completely different flags next to each other. And I'm sure of that because this one's from 1933 and that one's from 2017. That's not the same year. Completely different. This one is the paramilitary wing of the Communist Party of Germany. This one is the paramilitary wing of the Democratic Party of America. That's not the same country, is it? This one is red and white. And this one is red and white and black. This one says anti-fascistisch. And by this stage of the video, you realize Sir Patrick Mack's German sucks. This one says anti-fascist, and that's a smaller word. This one spells action with a K because it's Germany. And this one spells action with a C because it's the United States of America. And on a side note, you should always eat crab with a C, not crab with a K. Crab with a K is not real crab. And you're welcome for that tip. This one goes to the right. This one goes to the left. This one's got a bunch of kinks in it, and this one's got only one, so this one's kinkier. Now, these guys were communists, and they hung out with Democrats and socialists, and they beat up Nazis. These knuckleheads don't know what any of that stuff is, and they beat people up because politics are hard. So, yeah, it looks completely different to me. I'm not seeing the similarities here. Wait. Ah, there you go. Now it's starting to dial in a little bit. Now I see it. Maybe you got some. Look at that. Hey, toilet brush logo, kids. That's a t-shirt waiting to happen. Let's move on. Post 1652. ICE executes its mission through the enforcement of more than 400 federal statutes and focuses on smart immigration enforcement, preventing terrorism, and combating the illegal movement of people and trade. Then we had the ICE link. Q says abolish ICE. Hashtag goodbye Democrats. Q. Well, here's the official site that it takes you to, and I think Q is just driving home the point of what U.S. immigration and customs enforcement really is all about, and the important role that it plays in our nation. Now, it looks to me like this is going to be a major talking point leading up to the midterms, and of course, Dems are already calling to just get rid of ICE. Let me take you over here to CNN 2020 Insight. Dem prospects call for abolishing ICE. Harris not ruling it out. Warren sounds like a candidate. New York Mayor Bill de Blasio also called on ICE to be abolished on Friday. The move puts Gillibrand and de Blasio to the left of Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who has noted that he voted against ICE's creation in 2002. California Senator Kamala Harris told MSNBC last weekend that the United States should probably think about starting from scratch when it comes to enforcing immigration laws. I think there's no question that we've got to critically re-examine ICE and its role and the way that it's being administered and the work it is doing, she said. So as you can see, this is going to be one of their big talking points. And really their main battle cry has simply been that they don't want to see families getting separated. Well, that's really easy to say, isn't it? And of course, we know that a lot of these laws have been on the books since Bill Clinton. And so it's really hard to just blame President Trump on this. He's kind of tried to come to the table to come up with something. Dems don't really want to have it. And sadly, this becomes another, partisan politics going on. And of course, it's really easy to use this rallying cry. Of course, we all know that children shouldn't be separated from their families. I want to take you over here real quick. This is from U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And this was as of June 20th. Agents rescue 6-year-old abandoned by smuggler. Ajo Station Border Patrol agents rescued a 6-year-old Costa Rican boy after he was abandoned on the border road Tuesday evening. Agents discovered the child west of Lukeville, Arizona, and just north of the border, in temperatures over 100 degrees. The child told agents he was dropped off by his uncle and that Border Patrol would pick him up. He added that he was on his way to see his mother in the U.S. The child, who was found in good condition, was transported to Tucson for further processing. All right, so look, I've got a soft spot in my heart for kids, and that's why they choose topics like this, because they know that we all feel that way and we feel strongly about it. And it's an important issue. But look, this is just one example, of course. There's many kinds of examples. There's no perfect solution for this problem. But the fact of the matter is that these kids are getting separated long before they even get here sometimes. And this kid was left out in the desert in over 100 degrees. And all you know who live in Arizona, a kid's not going to make it. And who knows who was going to pick him up? I guess the mother was going to pick him up in this situation. Well, this is a dangerous situation. And of course, there's a root to this problem too. And that's really where it all kind of needs to get nipped in the bud. But because this is a complex situation, and this is a great reason to build a platform around this, because let's face it, Dems don't really have much of a platform other than this. So they can pull at your heartstrings and try and work this situation to death. Meanwhile, not probably really looking out for the kids in the process. But ICE has been coming under fire a lot lately, and it looks like Dems are going to be using that as a platform to get rid of it. After all, if they don't get illegal immigrants come into the country, who's going to vote for them? I mean, all the people that are already living here legally are hashtag walking away, right? So this is probably a last straw, last ditch effort, if they can, to get illegals flooded to the border. And look, this is not just an American problem, as you all know. We're seeing this in Malta. We're seeing it in Mexico. We're seeing it in Spain. We're seeing it in Italy, all over Europe now. And, ask Sweden how they feel about open borders. So look, everyone's got their, this is a problem worldwide. Everyone's got their issue. So we'll see how it plays out. But Q seems to imply that abolishing ICE is not going to be popular, and I doubt it will be. People are sick of open borders. We're not talking about legal immigration here. We're talking about just flooding the borders with knuckleheads, right? Q says hashtag goodbye Democrats. So that seems like that's probably a good hashtag to get going on Twitter. If you are one of those Twitter people, we can start getting that going. Goodbye Democrats. We're over here on the Twitter page of ICE, and they tweeted on June 30th, "Did you know investigations of child sexual exploitation are among ICE's primary investigative priorities? ICE HSI partnered with @MissingKids, @NetSmarts, and ICAC to develop Project iGuardian, which is focused on keeping kids safe from online predators." Yeah, among ICE's primary investigative priorities. And you can see a little bit more here. They're talking about human trafficking, and now they're talking about MS-13. Look at those dreamers right there, just coming on over here for a better life. Okay, this is really the heart of the matter: human trafficking. And ICE combats human trafficking. The Dems don't like that, because that's where they get their voters from. That's where they get their kids from. And that's really what is the most disconcerting out of all this. And once we can kind of have some real discourse with people about this and show them the root of this matter with immigration, then I think we'll finally be able to get some conversations going, get people realizing how heinous this human trafficking issue really, really is. And at that point, then it most certainly will be hashtag goodbye Democrats. Let's move on to the next post. Post 1653. We get this right here. Senator Tim Scott plans to recommend Trey Gowdy for Supreme Court. Well, how about that? Q says, what a coincidence. Well, let's hear it from Tim Scott's own mouth.
Supreme Court vacancy coming up. I just want
I heard about that.
Yeah, you may have heard about that. Yeah. Are there any deal breakers for you? If somebody were sitting, wanting to be a Supreme Court justice, and they said, I won't commit to preserving marriage equality, do they get your vote?
Well, listen, as opposed to going through all the hypotheticals, I'm going to wait until I find out who the candidates are and make some recommendations of my own.
Is marriage equality something?
I don't have a litmus test on a specific issue. I'm going to look at the candidates, look at their overall body of work. I'm going to recommend Trey Gowdy be one of the folks that I would have a strong recommendation for him serving on the Supreme Court. I hope that the president will be open to that.
You can speak well for him.'s a co-author with you on a book about bringing the country together. So
Absolutely.
I think
he's incredibly fair. Then Republicans were angry with him because he was so clear, even with this administration. Democrats were angry with him because he was so clear with the previous administration. A guy who will call balls and strikes and not choose a side, even when he's an elected member. At this time in our nation's history,
yeah,
that's hard to find.
It most certainly is. Well, there you go. Senator Tim Scott going to throw in his recommendation for Trey Gowdy for Supreme Court. Q doesn't seem at all surprised by that, of course. Says, what a coincidence. And, of course, the other day, Q mentioned that Trey Gowdy would be getting his name tossed in the hat for Supreme Court. Now, we're pretty sure that's not going to happen. As Q just said a couple posts ago on post 1650, it will not be Gowdy. But getting his name out there might be a big deal, as he may be stepping into another role. Now, a couple things to consider. It has been spoken in some circles about the possibility of Justice Ruth Darth Bader Ginsburg stepping down, which would seem outwardly to be political suicide. But if President Trump has something on her that would lead her to step down, after all, it's been rumored that she likes the Netflix and children, if you know what I mean. So who knows? Would be a terrible thing for the Democratic Party, but it wouldn't really surprise me. And of course, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is probably not on President Trump's Christmas card list. So we'll see what happens. Personally, I tend to think that a better role for Trey Gowdy at this point would be stepping into the Deputy Attorney General role and firing Rod Rosenstein or impeaching him or however that goes down. But that would seem to make the most sense so that Trey Gowdy could finally get some justice and prosecute Hillary Clinton. And how sweet justice would that be for Trey Gowdy? So let me know what you guys think about that. That's just my thought. Let me know down below. Let's move on. Post 1654 and an Anon post, this Washington Times link says NSA deleted 685 million call records. Q, did that include HRC, McCabe, Strzok, Page, Rosenstein calls? Drain the NSA. Q says you delete what you no longer need. You save what you do need. And this is the article right here. The Washington Times, NSA deleting more than 685 million call records due to technical irregularities. The NSA is deleting more than 685 million call records the government obtained since 2015 from telecommunication companies in connection with investigations, raising questions about the viability of the program. The NSA's bulk collection of call records was initially curtailed by Congress after former NSA contractor Edward Snowden leaked documents revealing extensive government surveillance. The law enacted in June 2015 said that going forward, the data would be retained by telecommunications companies, not the NSA, but that the intelligence agency could query the massive database. Now the NSA is deleting all the information it collected from the queries. The agency released a statement late Thursday saying it started deleting the records in May after NSA analysts noted technical irregularities in some data received from telecommunications service providers. It also said that the irregularities resulted in the NSA obtaining some call details it was not authorized to receive. That points to a failure of the program, according to David Criss, former top national security official at the Justice Department. All right, so look. I'm not really sure what to think about this. I think it sounds great. I hope it is what it is. Q is saying that you delete what you don't need and you keep what you do. I would love to put ultimate trust in some of these agencies. It's always hard, especially considering everything that we've gone through. But that's what they're saying. It looks like all the stuff that was really, really needed as far as all these call records that this Anon is referring to. Q says we have it all, and Q has said that many, many times that we have it all. And it sounds like the NSA is trying to show a good show of faith by deleting what they didn't need. And ultimately, in a perfect system of checks and balances, that's the way our security agencies should work. Leave us alone unless we've done something really, really nefarious. Then I would say our call records need to be left alone. So it's hard to really, really put your, kind of get my head wrapped around this whole issue, because these things are always kind of concerning if you are concerned about civil liberties. But that's what the NSA is saying. That's what the Washington Times is saying. The NSA is saying, and if so, that would be a great show of faith if it were really true. So we will see. There you go. Let's move on. Next post. 1655. And Anon says, but you just said it will not be Gowdy. Q says being on the list does not equate to receiving the nomination. Right. Being on the nomination just puts your name up in the media, get you talking a little bit. Now, I just said what I thought could happen to Trey Gowdy, but it also could be very well if Ginsburg does step down, Gowdy could step into that role. It seems like either one could be a role for Gowdy. Seems to me like Gowdy is more of the prosecutorial type. He's one of those guys that likes to go after people, and he's very to the point. So we shall see, but Q is saying that being on the list doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the nomination. And Q has already said that. So we will see what role he is going to be stepping into. Q adds on to this in 1656, saying, make no mistake, Representative Gowdy is a patriot. Q. Well, there you go. And if you are trusting the Q narrative, Q, I think, is trying to let us know that Representative Gowdy is indeed a white hat. There's been a lot of speculation on Gowdy, and I think rightfully so. Gowdy's like one of those villains in a Harry Potter movie where you're not really sure if he's a good guy because he's kind of gruff. And you're not really sure if he's a bad guy because sometimes he's kind of good too. So it's been really hard for people to tell about Representative Gowdy. But Gowdy is definitely playing a role in all this. Definitely a great actor. I can't help but think during the IG hearings, One of the brilliant things that I noticed about the way he spoke, these guys know that they're going to get their little soundbite on TV. And Gowdy, I think, that uses that very, very brilliantly. And that's when he turns on the acting chops. And he really makes the most out of his 2 minutes when he is doing his questioning. And I think that's very smart of Gowdy, because he knows that's going to get on TV. He knows it's going to get some ratings. But more importantly, he knows that the message is what's going to get out. So we shall see what happens to Trickety Trey Gowdy, but it looks like he is going to be stepping into a new role very soon. Let's move on. Post 1657, Q says, do you feel the emotion, anger this writer has? And it takes you to this Business Insider link right here. Get a grip, people. Your conspiracy-minded impulses are making you look stupid. By Josh Barro. Sweet. Rather than discredit President Donald Trump's immigration policies on their merits, people resorted to wild conspiracy theories this week. People love conspiracy nonsense that confirms their worst priors about their political opponents. That sends a message to people in the political middle. They see this nonsense and wonder if it's the best argument you can come up with, and whether that means your position is indefensible. Interesting. You'd think it would be easy enough to make arguments against the Trump administration's immigration policies, which were Bill Clinton's on their own merits, rather than resorting to numerology, and asserting that Department of Homeland Security press releases contain secret neo-Nazi flags borne out in their paragraph structure and formatting choices. But here we are. A theory from Oakland software executive Lori Voss made the rounds on Twitter Thursday, arguing a February DHS release about border issues contained Nazi dog whistles because its headline began with "We must secure" and ran 14 words similar to the 14 words that are popular slogans among neo-Nazis. There was more evidence. The release had 14 points, perhaps another reference to the 14 words, and it oddly quoted a statistic out of 88 instead of the usual 100. 88 corresponding to HH, or Heil Hitler, can be another neo-Nazi tag. Wait a minute, I am thoroughly confused. What are we doing? Is this Q? I'm not always inclined to take DHS spokespeople at their word. They do lie, but there are significant problems with Voss's theory that lead me to believe pretty strongly they're telling the truth here. So now we're going to go on to the debunking part. First of all, this supposed 14-point release only has 13 bullet points. Oh, God, dog, pack it up, pack it in. It's only got 13 bullet points, folks. Are you following? That's not 14 bullet points, 13 bullet points. Wrap it up, Q's a LARP. Some readers determined to land on a count of 14 have pointed to a non-bulleted paragraph, which they add to the 13 bullets. But the release has 2 non-bulleted paragraphs, so either it has 13 points or 15, not 14. I'm thoroughly confused. What are we talking about here? Anyway, so he's going on to talk about all this conspiracy stuff, but look where we get to. This is how people fall for QAnon. Yeah, clearly, if you don't know numerology and you don't understand what Josh Barr was talking about, that's how we get to dangerous stuff like Q. Are you following? I'm completely not. People love conspiracy nonsense that confirms their worst priors about their political opponents. It's not enough to say Trump administration officials are doing something morally wrong, or acting without a moral compass, or driven by racist motivations, or inflicting a cruel policy for sport. Sport? Yeah, that's what we are, guys. We're a bunch of athletes sitting around on our computer for sport. No, they must be literal Nazis. Literal Nazis. Wait a minute. Fought Nazis. Not literal Nazis. Beat up Nazis. Doesn't know what Nazis are. Let's keep going. Of course, the right does much more than this than the left, which is how so many Trump fans came to believe John Podesta was involved in a pedophile ring run out of a pizzeria and that the DNC murdered Seth Rich. Note, neither of those is true. How about that? So this Josh Barrow's got it all figured out. Interesting. So here's what we're going to do. For the sake of fun, this is Josh Barrow's Twitter. And as you can see, I'm going to follow Josh, you and me. We're going to be friends. We're going to talk about this. We're going to be friends, you and I, you and me and you, Josh. Let's do it. Let's be friends. Let's frolic through fields together, Josh. Let's do it. Well, you can see what's going on. Do you feel the emotion, anger this writer has? Yeah, clearly, this guy doesn't know anything about Q, but he's perfectly happy to throw out some numerology stuff that I didn't understand and talk about bullet points or whatever. And I guess that's supposed to mean that Q isn't anything that you should be following. Now we got this Snopes link too, and you know how much we love Snopes. Billboards promoting 4chan conspiracy theory QAnon pop up across America. Billboards next to Georgia and Oklahoma highways reference a farcical and ill-defined deep state conspiracy theory. But who's paying for them? Do you see the irony in this, folks? Snopes is asking, who's paying for propaganda? Let me say it again so it really sinks in. Snopes is asking, who's paying for propaganda? In May 2018, a Reddit user posted the image of a billboard in southern Oklahoma to the subreddit Great Awakening, which is dedicated to a largely incoherent, ever-widening conspiracy theory known as the Storm, with the hashtag QAnon. That involves an anonymous group of highly placed government individuals nobly fighting the corruption of the deep state. That is to say, the civil servants who work within the American government while representing themselves as someone going only by Q. The billboard sports an oversized American flag, Bedazzle. Oh, remember the Bedazzler? Letter Q. Next to which is the text, where we go one, we go all. A popular Q slogan, which apparently is a line of a 1996 Jeff Bridges movie, White Squall. Let me just stop right there. It's not apparently, it is. After all, aren't you a fact checker, Snopes? It is. It is a line in the movie. Check your facts, Snope. So you see what's going on. And those of you who are kind of new to the QAnon movement, I want to point out this billboard. This came up before, and this took you to a doyouknowq.com, which was a totally... It was trash, whatever it was. I don't know who set it up. None of us do. And it was one of the first times that we saw Q on a billboard. And of course, this is a deep state method of getting out in front of the narrative, like I mentioned a lot. And what they were trying to do is they were setting up a website that was kind of a pay. You could buy a Q board, which I could just send you this link right here for free. But according to this site, you could go and you could buy it, and it was trash. It's nothing to be followed, this doyouknow.com. It's not worth looking at. It was something that was kind of planted there to make Q look like some sort of trashy conspiracy theory that Snopes is selling it to be. Now, we get hashtag QAnon, which isn't selling you anything. It's just taking you to the Twitter hashtag QAnon, where you're actually going to find out. So now it's important that Snopes step up and give us the facts, even though they're not really sure what line that line's from, what movie. So good job, Snopes. Hopefully you find out who's paying for that propaganda. Hopefully we can figure out who's paying for yours. Q says they are scared of you. Nothing is more powerful than the public being awake and collectively free thinking, talking, etc. Stay united. Q. Yeah, well, the George Soroses of the world would love to shoot down QAnon and make you think that this is all just a bunch of conspiracy nonsense. But more and more people are waking up to it, and we're seeing it come out into the public more and more. We're starting to see celebrities talk about it. We're starting to see journalists talk about it. It's very enlightening now to see people actually finally getting this out into the open. So keep talking about it. That's the whole point. Q says stay united, and we can see that we have a united all in caps there. I wonder if there's anything to that. Q. Let's move on for now. Next post, 1658. And we get another list of these resignations, or excuse me, sealed indictments, not resignations. As you can see, in California alone, from October to November, late November, 409, 815 the next month. Just in California alone, big numbers. Q says good tracking. Ask yourself, is this normal? This is bigger than people can possibly imagine. Nothing being done. Q, yeah, it's hard to really argue with this. And remember, the link that I showed you yesterday, it's all sourced. You can all see where it goes. Q adds on to this. Ask yourself, who is filing the indictments? It would take a very large team to work this quickly. Who has that kind of manpower? 470. And it takes you back to this link. I'm not going to play to read it for you today. We've read it so many times. Look, we're all talking about Huber, okay? Horowitz, working with Huber to prosecute. And they've got a team of 470 people. That's a massive amount of manpower. And we're going to keep talking about it here in the next post here, 1660. Q says, ask yourself, does Huber have the ability to file across all 50 states? Yes, all 50. Remember, he's a Utah guy, not a DC guy. Is any of this normal? Not really. I don't think we've ever seen anything, at least of this magnitude before. Think sealed indictments, thousands upon thousands of indictments. Think of the resignations of CEOs. And that's what we really saw first, right? We saw the CEOs go down shortly after the executive orders. We saw all these CEOs step down. And over the last year and a half, we've seen a ton. Think resignations of senators. We've covered all that. Congress, same thing. Think termination of senior FBI. That's what happened next. This was kind of the ugly period, wasn't it? Think termination of senior DOJ. Exactly. And all we're hearing about is the children on the border. Media blackout. Nobody's talking about this. Nobody's talking about the IG hearings. No one's talking about the NYPD laptop. Midterms, punt. Okay, remember, you don't punt when you're looking to score. You punt when you don't have a choice. You got to kick that ball. And the best thing to do, since you know you're not going to score, is to get that ball all the way down the other side of the field so the other team has to have more room. They got to go. They got a longer distance to go, right? That's a punt. They're just trying to stretch this out to get to the midterms. If they get enough people in with their rigged voting machines, then they can impeach President Trump, or at least that would be the next step. All or nothing, that's it. That's all they got. They've got nothing else. And we've seen that reflected in the ugliness of their politics. Is it a race? It is. It is. It's a bit of a race for time. And for us, it's a little frustrating because a lot of people who have been following QAnon were ahead of the game as far as we know what the plan is. So it's a little bit difficult to have patience and watch this all get slow. Look, this is a slow walk on both sides. You have the deep state. They're slow walking all the information because they don't want to get it out to us. They know that if they can just hang on till midterms, public opinion might still be in their favor. Whereas the deep state knows that we've needed to buy some of this time so all these different prosecutions could go on underneath. It is a race. Would a second special counsel take years to complete? Yes. And it would be based in corrupt DC. We can't have that. That's going to take us right past midterms. This is important. This is the race. Excuse me. Would the grand jury be members of a DC community? Yes. So what's the point? What percentage of DC voted for Hillary Rodham Clinton? I don't know the exact number right offhand. I'm imagining it's probably like they did for Rod Rowe. Okay, I'm sure she was their guy. And I mean that. She was their guy. She was the one that was going to make it all go down. 16-year plan. It was all about Hillary winning, right? She was their champion. And so, of course, she was going to win. How large is Mueller's team? 20 to 25 people? Think 470 prosecutors handling thousands of cases. The more you know. Q. So this is a big deal. And the hard part, I think, of this is that we're not seeing all the high profile names that we'd really like to see. But at the end of the day, I think that's just the way it's going to have to play out for a little bit. Now, I have a feeling that we're going to get a lot more larger reveals as time goes on after a while. But keep in mind, this is a November timeline, and really, midterms have to happen before that. That's when the fireworks really got to go off. And of course, we've got the 4th of July coming as well very, very soon. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some fireworks then too. Let's go on to the next post. 1661. And Anon says, looking at the numbers, it doesn't seem to be slowing down or wrapping up either. Q says, think stages. What role can military intel play? What role can NSA play? Bang. So this is interesting. I'm not exactly sure what this means, but these are definitely stages, and I think the stages are these right here. We had the sealed indictments, the resignations of the CEOs, the senators, the Congress, the FBI, the DOJ, and we literally watched it play out this way. These were the stages, right? What role can military intel play? Remember, this is all about intel. This is about text messages. This is about phone messages. This is about Google Draft messages. This is about military information going to China, uranium going all over the world. This is about so much stuff, but it all revolves around intel, right? All revolves around intel. So military intel plays a massive role in this. What role does the NSA play? Well, it's counter intel. So whatever's been shared around the world, evidently, has all been collected. After all, Q has said many, many times, they have it all. Bang. Q. Now, bang is interesting. I don't know if that is referring to some fireworks. The first thing I thought of when I thought of the bang was the reference to Q talking about the picture of Obama with a gun. And I don't want to sensationalize that or anything like that, because I could very well be wrong. It was just the first thing that popped in my head, but could just be referring to some fireworks upcoming. After all, we have a 4th of July coming up. So you let me know what you think bang is going to be, but I have a feeling it has to do with this military intel that we have. Could it be revealing the assassination attempt through those text messages? We shall see, but we're going to find out very, very soon. Let's move on. Next post, 1662, we get this Washington Times link, and that takes you right over here. America really did have a Manchurian candidate in the White House. After returning from a tour of some of the war zones in the Middle East, which ended with a free Iran gathering 2018 in Paris, I am struck by the realization that America really did have a Manchurian candidate in the White House for 8 years. If you look at the evidence, there really is no other conclusion. The calamitous consequences of the Obama presidency will be felt for the foreseeable future. In the short year and a half that President Trump has been in office, he has put in place policy that has mitigated the damage that President Obama inflicted on our national security and on our allies. The speed with which Trump has been able to turn things around points to the diabolical depths the Obama administration went to in order to undermine our national strength and way of life. All Trump had to do was stop doing those things that hurt America. America could then take care of itself. The results are plain as day. However, it will take decades for the Obama damage to be completely undone. The deviousness of the Obama sedition runs deep. Think about it for a moment. If you wanted peace in the Middle East, why would you throw away the trillions of dollars spent, as well as the lives of thousands of American souls, by irresponsibly pulling out all American troops from Iraq? No matter your thoughts on starting the war, pulling out was an irresponsible thing to do. We still have troops in Germany, Korea, and Japan, for God's sakes. Why? For stability. That's why. As Colin Powell said, we broke it, now we own it. It was a given that instability would follow the forced withdrawal. When you combine this act with the reality that Obama never really did try to defeat the Islamic State, what conclusion can you come up with? Trump defeated them in a few months. The conclusion is obvious. Obama really didn't want to destroy them. Why did Obama and Hillary take down Muammar Gaddafi, who had already given up his nuclear weapons? Was it to destabilize Libya, where ISIS could gain another foothold? Why did Obama help install the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt? What was the agenda behind the so-called Arab Spring? However, the coup de grace of an anti-American activity was the JCPOA, or to say it another way, the agreement to give Iran everything it wanted, including nuclear weapons and money, lots of money, which it immediately used to further destabilize the region and existentially threaten the only democracy in the Middle East, Israel. To take it a step further, why didn't Obama support the opposition against the mullahs in 2009 when there was an obvious chance for regime change in Iran? Why didn't Obama confront Bashar Assad's chemical weapons use? One of the main unanswered questions is, what ties did Valerie Jarrett really have to the Iranian regime? I won't go into why Obama ran up more debt for the United States than all previous presidents combined. I won't ask why he weakened our armed forces. I won't ask why he used tyrannical policies like using the agencies of the federal government to go after his political opposition. I won't ask why he politicized our security apparatus in an attempt to frame President Trump. What I will say is that there was a big fox in the henhouse for 8 long years. 8 long years for people like Brennan, Hillary, Kerry, Clapper, Comey, and Jarrett to really hurt us regarding our safety and security. Trump has a lot of house cleaning to do. Thank goodness he's being quick about it. One of the greatest articles I've seen in recent times. I really love it. This is from the Washington Times. I highly suggest that you read it yourself, or at least pass it on. At the very least, I just read it to you. But this is really great. It rings really, really true. It's nice to see this coming out of a major publication like the Washington Times. And it's exciting to see that people will be able to start getting more exposure. Washington Times, of course, is a big publication, and Q obviously wants to turn our attention to it as well. So thank you for that, Q. Next post, 1663, Q says, thank you, USSS. Then we got this Blaze article right here. Stunning revelation buried deep in IG report blows hole in Lynch Clinton tarmac meeting narrative. A stunning revelation buried deep inside Department of Justice Inspector General Michael Horowitz's report on the FBI's Hillary Clinton email investigation suggests the controversial June 2016 tarmac meeting between then Attorney General Loretta Lynch and former President Bill Clinton was coordinated. If true, it blows a hole in the narrative Lynch and Clinton have maintained for 2 years. Lynch claimed the social meeting was spontaneous and the two discussed grandchildren. The meeting was extremely controversial at the time because it came just days before then FBI Director James Comey announced the FBI would not recommend criminal charges against Clinton for using a private email server while Secretary of State. What does Horowitz's report say? The report states that the DOJ Department of Public Affairs supervisor traveling with Lynch told internal DOJ investigators that Clinton's Secret Service detail contacted Lynch's security detail ahead of time to arrange the meeting. Dun dun dun! Clinton's plane was parked next to Lynch's, the report revealed, or about just 20 to 30 yards away. Clinton told investigators he only learned the plane next to his was Lynch's after being briefed by his staff. He claimed he then debated whether or not he should say hello and shake hands with the Attorney General. Page 203 of the report states, the OPA supervisor said that he had later learned that former President Clinton's Secret Service detail had contacted Lynch's FBI security detail and let them know that the former president wanted to meet with Lynch. Although Lynch's staff was supposed to receive notice of such requests, witnesses told us that they were not informed of the request from former President Clinton. In addition, Lynch revealed to DOJ investigators she was not social with the Clintons and had never met with either one of them prior to the tarmac meetings. Both Clinton and Lynch denied discussing nefarious subjects such as the DOJ's Clinton investigation, known as Midyear, or any other matters involving the Clintons' public life. They both maintained the conversation was lighthearted and personal. The report goes on to detail that Lynch's staff, who were waiting outside the plane in a staff van, felt blindsided and shocked Lynch would meet with the former president. Finally, it was Lynch's senior counselor who broke up the meeting when she realized it would become extremely problematic if the media learned Lynch had just met with the husband of a subject in a major investigation. The senior counselor said she could not recall what she heard when she entered the plane, but said Lynch appeared uncomfortable and wanted the meeting to be done. According to the report, the meeting between Lynch and Clinton lasted about 20 minutes. So more information coming towards us about the tarmac. What was Aunt Loretta and Bill talking about on the tarmac? They weren't supposed to be meeting. That's not okay. He was under investigation. Well, his wife was under investigation. Next thing you know, it becomes a matter. No big deal. I'll bet we got audio of that. And I find it very interesting that Q says thank you, USSS. And just a few posts back, Q mentioned about us staying united. There was a picture that Q posted regarding a United Airlines, and we were trying to figure out what was going on that plane. Now, of course, the tarmac meeting looked like it was going on in the day. This picture looks like it was going on at night, but who knows? Maybe they are related. You tell me what you think, if this has anything to do with the picture at all. But we do know this. It appears that there was some conversation going on about the meeting regarding them being able to pull up on the tarmac in the first place and have a chat. Interesting indeed. Let's move on. 1664. Q says there will be no civil war. Coordinated MSM hysteria designed to instill fear. Changed narrative. Yeah, look, these guys can't move a porta potty without us knowing about it. All right, these guys are. Look, this Antifa is. It looks good on camera to watch a couple Antifa bros go at it with each other and whoever these prayer warrior guys or whatever. It's one thing to watch Mad Maxine Waters try and go beyond Thunderdome and rally up about 15 people on the street corner and tell everybody to get harassed. But people aren't going to stand for that. It's not working really well. It's not drawing the numbers that they'd like you to think it is. North Korea is not advancing their weapons program. This was reported on Fox just yesterday, I believe, and it was very, very disappointing. It's hard to believe that could be true. Now, I always try to entertain the possibility that it could be true, but it looks like that their sources might have been off on that after all. Q is reassuring us that North Korea is not advancing their weapons program, and I'm sure when you've got a guy like John Bolton and Mike Pompeo over there, I tend to think they're going to be pretty aggro for the first couple years at least about North Korea, so I'm having a hard time buying it anyway, especially considering how much is on the line with that. I'm sure that President Trump's administration doesn't want to mess that up because it's going to give the deep state so much power to talk about if that all goes down. So I have a hard time believing that would be the case, but we'll have to see. Q is saying it's fake news. I tend to believe it's fake news because that's how it tends to play out. Coordinated MSM hysteria designed to instill fear, change narrative. Yeah, that's all they want to do right now. They've got no policy. They've got no platform to run on. Let's just make everybody afraid of everything. And that takes us next to this picture right here. Post 1665, a great picture. Like I said earlier, it reminds me of the M.C. Escher paintings of the stairways going all which way. And it's really very appropriate for now, isn't it? And of course, I'll see if I can send a link for you down below, or you can just take a screenshot of this. But if somebody's got a link to this graphic, that'd be great. You should just be able to save it right off the QAnon the board here. So you should just be able to pull it off. But anyway, you've got the Dems and the Republicans button heads over here. You got the women yelling at the men. That's kind of like the story of my life. Statue of Liberty standing in the balcony trying to figure out where she's going to go. Upside down flag with all the coexisty logos on there. Great graphic. It really kind of shows the conundrum of the U.S. spirit right now. But I think it's all coming together. Q says, thank you, Ben. We rather enjoyed this one. Where we go one, we go all Q. All right, that is all I got for you today. Those are your Q posts. As always, if more pops up, I will be on top of it. And yeah, I think we covered it about as well as we could. So there you go. If you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. And remember that when you get unclicked and unchecked and unsubscribed, please be a dear. Do it again. All right. And until next time, this is Sir Patrick Mack. Stay united.